This is the Molten Monster, a unit originally intended for the first Frost Invasion event, but got postponed for, honestly I'm not sure why, but they just never released it. It sat around in the game as a strong unit that admins could spawn if they felt like it, but never really had any use outside of that, at least until now. With the Frost Invasion event, they actually brought the Molten Monster back. You can spawn it in with a power-up called the Molten Monster, and it summons this guy with his 100,000 health and high damage attacks. And to be honest, this sounds insanely broken. Before that, the strongest power-up in the game was the Nuke, which dealt 50,000 damage, which is half of his health, and, was just one attack, whereas the Molten Monster can shoot off its claw attack and the fireball thing. So, it's obvious that the Molten Monster is strong, but how strong is it? I wanted to test the Molten Monster against 3 of TDS's hardest challenges, to see if the Molten Monster is actually as strong as a lot of people probably think. So first, let's start off with Hidden Wave. Out of these 3 tests, Hidden Wave would be the easiest to conduct, but hardest to actually win. You definitely know how to start it by now, but just in case you don't, here's the steps. Get to 1 HP, say 120, 1009 in the chat, and kill the Fallen King in under a minute. On my first run though, I didn't kill the Fallen King in a minute. In fact, I killed him in 1 minute and 3 seconds, which was a very annoying waste of a Molten Monster, but it was fine. On the next run, I was able to trigger Hidden Wave. But first of all, we should probably talk about the loadout I was using. Gold Cowboy is for my early game, as well as being the tower that I used to get down to 1 HP, as dealing 3 damage is just a very good value for doing that. Next is Commander, which I feel like is pretty obvious. It's a fire rate buff for all of my guys. Then we have Merc Base, which gives a 20% damage buff to all my towers, as well as being able to be sold and rebought on Hidden Wave to deal extra damage with Riot Guards. Finally, we have my 2 DPS towers, which are just Pursuit and Ranger. Pretty standard stuff, I just wanted unstunnable guys. Because I didn't deal quite enough damage in the previous run, I just set all my Rangers onto strongest so they would target the Fallen King and he would die faster. This little bit of extra damage from the Rangers constantly shooting at him allowed me to trigger Hidden Wave. So now, we can see how the Molten Monster does against it. So yeah, it wasn't really that close. However, like I mentioned earlier, Hidden Wave is also the hardest of the 3, only being possible when you could use abilities in 0 timescale, because you could summon basically infinite Riot Guards. With Hidden Wave out of the question, let's move on to the second hardest of these 3 challenges, Polluted Wastelands. My loadout consists of Gold Cowboy, DJ, Sledger, Merkbase, and Gold Mini. Now, initially, Sledger might seem like a bit of a weird pick. While it is very good at slowing down enemies and dealing a lot of damage to crowds, it's pretty much useless on a boss, so there's no point to really bring it when the main obstacle of this mode is killing the nuclear monster. And that was what I thought initially too. For my first several runs, I brought Ranger over Sledger to deal more damage to the nuclear monster. And in the past, this has also worked. You can see here in this run from Witherstar that he beats it with the same loadout. In this run, they use Gold Cowboy to kill the amalgamation on wave 22, which is the first main obstacle wave in the mode. Thing is though, this actually doesn't work anymore, and that's because this mode has actually been changed since it was implemented. Upon the release of Polluted Wastelands, the breaker enemy actually wasn't in the game yet, and it used mysteries. In October that year, the breaker got introduced, and Polluted Wastelands switched from the mystery to the breaker, and it's been like that ever since. At least, that's until December 16th. You see, TDS actually released a shadow update, making Polluted Wastelands harder by switching all breakers into mysteries. While initially this might not sound significant, it's actually a really big problem. This is because that after wave 20, breakers are now able to spawn toxics. You don't know, toxics spawn a healing pool on the ground when they die, which basically just heals enemies to full health if they walk over it. While they do come out in wave 23 with an amalgamation, your defense by that point should be strong enough to handle a second one. But for the first amalgamation, this is brutal, which is why that toxics are not part of wave 22. But with mysteries, they can now appear. In Wither's run, the breakers get absolutely decimated. Now, the 300 or so health pool of breakers turns into mysteries, which can turn into toxics, which heal the other enemies, or mutated bosses, which have, like, I think 700 or 800 health with the modifier, and can also get healed by the toxic pools, which just makes it so that even before the amalgamation, the wave is a ton harder. And if you get past all the breakers without getting too garbage RNG, well, there's still an entire amalgamation to deal with, and oh, what's that? Your amalgamation's low? Nah, I actually didn't think so. Anyways, that's my 2-minute long explanation as to why I'm using Sledger, basically just to eliminate RNG from the run by allowing me to just absolutely farm this wave regardless. The thing is, even after this wave, Sledger kind of farms the rest of this mode. There is one enemy that the Sledger can't farm though, and it's the Abomination on wave 30. This is due to the fact that it has no freeze. I was predicting this enemy to be very problematic, so I tried to get as many riot guards up as possible with max Merc bases by that time. With that threat gone, it was now time to go to the last wave. And all Polluted Wastelands really offers now is just spam of so many f***ing enemies. It's honestly absurd. This is where Sledger comes in, is it's able to either slow or kill basically everything that spawns, and the added support of Merkbase, Minigunner, Gold Cowboy, and DJ just adds to that. Holy sh**.
Uh-oh.
I'm dead.
We're good.
It's fine, we got power.
Come on. Dude, he's on 200 health! Wave 39 didn't stay as a roadblock for long though. I cleared it on the next attempt. And now, it was time for the molten monster versus the nuclear monster. I guess I should mention that in each of these challenges, I'm only doing one attempt because, well, the molten monster is a very limited resource, you know, I don't really have a lot of those. And getting to the wave of the challenge in each of these takes a long time, and I don't really want to spend that much into this one video. So I've gone with my first attempt on every wave, but this does mean that I could play better in each of them. Yeah, I'm not doing it again though. Anyways, polluted wastelands 2 out of the way, now it's badlands. Badlands 2 is definitely the easiest out of these modes. Boss only has 600k health, which the molten monster can take out 17% of. The only real problem waves are wave 30 with the tank, wave 35 with the warden, and then wave 40. On my first attempt on wave 30, I got the tank down to like 200 health before it killed me. I then switched to following a video from Artur Silva, in which they used level 3 gold minis to kill the tank. This actually ended up working, and I moved on to the next obstacle wave, which is 35. The first time I went into this wave, I got absolutely cooked, getting stun locked by wardens and then get finished off by breakers. After watching this video though, I knew that I had to get some stun baits at the front with these cowboys, as well as using the damage and fire rate flag to actually be able to survive. Wave 36 is not a problem, it just has necromancer bosses which are pretty easy to handle, and neither is wave 37. While still having wardens, you'll start getting pursuits at this point, and they can handle the 6 necromancer bosses that spawn in. If they shoot in the right direction, that is. Wave 38 and 39 are mostly just enemy spam, and then it's time for wave 40.